Hi guys, it's a big day for us metal fans. There's a new Judas Priest album out, Invincible Shield, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing that album. It's big when a band like this brings a new album. It's their first album for 6 years and I had huge expectations. I mean, they dropped 4 singles, 2 of them in my mind are amongst their best songs ever. But I also was concerned. I had seen Rob singing with Dolly Parton, for example. He's 6 years older. So I thought, okay, there is going to be too much Pro Tools, too much production. And it turns out some of my concerns were right, some of them were wrong. Let's dive in. So this is Judas Priest's 19th studio album. It's been in the works since 2020, slowed down by the pandemic. The band doesn't really need an introduction. The producer is Andy Sneap. He also did Firepower. He's done Accept, Amon Amarth, Saxon, and a lot of other bands. It's 14 songs on the bonus track edition on 64 minutes. The cover is that shield, obviously that invincible shield in the sky with fire and stuff like that. Nothing specific, but fits the purpose. So I took the album for a ride and I listened in the park with my best friend. And I wasn't very impressed at the beginning, but I made a mistake. I listened to the album, only the new songs. I skipped all the singles that I knew before. What I noticed immediately was that the sound and production was great and Rob vocals were good, but the song somehow failed to catch me. And if I would have had to give it a score back then, it would have been 7.5 out of 10. But then I gave it a few more listens, and when I started listening from start to finish without skipping anything, it kind of builds up nicely and you kind of get into more of an atmosphere and a flow with this album than I felt at the first listen. And I feel that this album is kind of a logical continuation of Firepower somehow, and often I think Judas Priest albums travels in pairs somehow. There's not a lot of experimentation on this album, I would say. I mean, there is a lot of kind of recalls to older days. I mean, like Serpent and the King and Panic Attack, you could say kind of Painkiller era or something like that. And then in the title song Invincible Shield, there is this dueling guitars and stuff like that. So all the old stuff from the playbook is there, but without being repetitive somehow. But there are also songs where they're pushing the envelope a little bit. There is this song called Escape from Reality where it's kind of a mid-tempo song with very high dissonance somehow in the chorus, and then Rob eventually sings through some sort of an effect that gives it very much of an Ozzy Osbourne vibe. What I like about that song also is that there is a lot going on in that song, but you hear all of it, and that tells me a lot about how high quality the production of this album is. And another song that kind of stands out in a different way is the last song, The Lodger. That's song 14, and it has this kind of a James Bond movie theme song vibe somehow, and I thought it would be something that my Spotify had skipped to some other artist when I heard that one. Now, the best songs on this album, for me it's obvious why they released those singles. These are all really, really good songs, and 2 of them are on my top 3 list of this album. The first one being Panic Attack. That's, for me, is everything that this band is about and what I love about them. It's rage, it's power, it's energy, and it's just gonna be a killer song live for sure. Then Crown of Horns, I really like that song. There is some melancholy in that song. I get goosebumps when I hear the first tone. There is some raw beauty to that song that Rob can translate somehow, and I don't know, the lyrics somehow make you feel that he's singing an ode to his life or to life as a rock star or something like that. Now the third song that I really like is Escape from Reality. That's a song that I mentioned earlier, and I like it when Rob sings through that effect on that song. It kind of gives it a very different vibe, and then there is a super cool kind of dual guitar solo late in that song that I really like. Now, The Stinker, I wouldn't say it's a bad song, and it's early days, it might change, but there is this song, Giant in the Sky, that is an ode to Lemmy and Ronnie James Dio. I feel that it's a little bit forced somehow. So on to the rating. What I think is positive about this album is that it's an amazing production. They kind of managed to preserve somehow that retro sound, but dress it up in a new way, and it's not artificial, it's not like overproduced, overcompressed or anything like that. The vocals are much better than I expected from a 72-year-old Rob Halfords. The guitar work is obviously great, and I like also how Ian Hill gets space on the bass somehow. Gets space on the bass, that's kind of cool. You know, you hear him a lot here, and that's I like where the bass sits in the mix on this album. And the drummer, Travis Scott, he is brilliant. I mean, he basically brings energy when appropriate, and then he brings groove when it's appropriate. There are 2 to 3 songs on this album that I think are gonna be amongst the greatest songs of this band when we kind of look back in, I don't know, 50 years from now or something like that. Now the negatives. This album is a grower. It's not like a love at first sight for me. I think it could have been better even with 11 songs and not those 3 bonus tracks. They could have been used later as, you know, B-sides on singles or something like that, and kind of microdose to us some way. I mean, it's a great album, but the expectations that were built up over such a long time, just make you think that you're gonna have gold in your hand somehow. So I'm gonna have to give this album 8.5 out of 10. Now, I think it will grow, like Firepower did for me. I think this album will grow, and I think it will get to 9 after some time, and it will be sitting right under Defenders of the Faith and Screaming for Vengeance, which in my opinion are their best albums, but it's not quite there now. Now, I'd be very grateful if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I also want to tell you in the first comment to this video is going to be a link to my Spotify playlist, The Weekly Fix, where every new metal song comes every week, updated weekly, straight to your Spotify. And then I have this video here about the Mandrake project from last week. That's Bruce Dickinson's new album. And then I have this one here about Mick Mars, The Other Side of Mars album review that I just did recently. Check these videos out. See you over there.